Well, there we go. I hope you're here with me today. It's not morning. No, it is morning somewhere, isn't it? It's probably morning in California. Hello, hello. This is Lisa Wilber here with Monday Morning Madness. I am coming to you from Ware, New Hampshire. And we had a last minute change of plans. So you have to be flexible in this world, really. So, oh, and I should probably turn my notifications off so we're not listening to that. We need to be flexible in this world. My special guest, Leslie, had to reschedule. She lives in New York City, and they're doing plumbing work in her condo, and the noise she wouldn't be able to record. So so you're stuck with me. Good afternoon. You're stuck with me right now. But what I thought I'd do is talk about my favorite topic, which isn't me, surprisingly enough. It's marketing. So let's dig into some of that. I do hope that you'll join me and put your comments in so I can read them. If you'd like to talk about something else. Carly said, I just pulled out all my certificates you had sent me over the years. Wow, back to 2009. That's awesome. I'm glad you popped on, Carly. Yay. So, yeah, I have to be flexible when you're doing something like this. So I got no guest. You're stuck with me. Oh, but I did bring the magic mirror. I got the magic mirror, Carly. I got it. So when I see people making comments, I will recognize you with the magic mirror. So let's discuss, let's talk about how this all goes with the whole marketing thing. Something funny happened lately. I thought I was actually pretty well known for my marketing things because of the van. I wrapped my van and stuff. Howdy from Huntsville, Alabama. Howdy. But you know what? When Jeff West approached me to do this book project with him, I assumed he asked me because he knew I could hold up that end of the project. And he didn't know about it. He didn't know any of that. He actually kind of said, he asked me because I had good stories when we were on the Zoom with Bob Berg. So my funny stories and stuff. That's it. He didn't know about the whole marketing thing. So it got me to thinking there's probably a bunch of you that haven't seen a lot of the ideas. Now, why I want to share them with you is because you can do them too. These are things I just came up with as I went along that have tremendously helped my business. As many of you know, I'm a longtime earner with Avon. Good afternoon, Lisa. That doesn't hurt my feelings any. You made my day. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's no interview this morning. Hi, Kelly. We're just going to be talking about some marketing ideas, and I'm going old school. You get me today. Me and all me. So we used to do this together. Remember this? What was a couple 3 years ago now? I used to sit here and just yakety yak for an hour on Monday Morning Madness. That was my thing. But I figured you guys were getting sick of that because I was getting sick of myself. So, but let's talk some old school marketing things. So I'll go back to, I'll see if I can't throw in a story or two you might not have heard, but chances are you're going to hear some of this stuff you've heard already. If you do, what I hope you'll do is think of it as like a refresher course. Like, am I doing that? Or did I do it once? Could I do it again? Can I find another way to do that now? Am I doing that enough now, like I used to do? So when you're hearing these stories that I'm telling, make sure you translate that into what you can do for your business, because that's the whole point of me telling the story. Isn't just to tell you a story, it's so that you can benefit. I want this hour to benefit you. Okay, here we go. So so way back, someone asked me this recently and I had to think about it. One of the first things I think that happened that made me, I don't know, want to buy and sell stuff was my mother worked for an oil company in the middle of Orange called the Cooperative Coal. And I used to go up there after school and help her. And her boss that owned the oil company was a woman, and her name was Grace Brock. And she gave me and my brother, we were pretty young at that time. I think I was not in my teens. I was even younger than that, probably. He was probably teens. She gave us each $20 in the spring and said, the church fair is coming in the fall. And whichever one of us could turn our $20 any way we wanted to, we had to think of ideas how you could take that $20 and make more money with it and turn in the most money at the church fair in the fall would win. Now, we didn't win anything, but back then we didn't care about that. We were just being competitive and we were out doing our thing. So that really got me started on this whole entrepreneurial thing. So I thought about it for a while, and my father was selling stuff at the flea market. Hi, Crystal. Oh, wait, sorry. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Sandra. The magic mirror. And he was selling stuff at the flea market. He started out selling stuff from the house, and then he would buy stuff on Saturday and sell it on Sunday at the flea market. So I thought, well, maybe I could do that. So I went around with him and looked at for stuff that was very inexpensive, and usually it was like box lots of stuff, and then I would take it home and clean it, like wash it in the the dishpan and stuff and clean it, and then I would price it. He had little price stickers, and then sell it on Sunday at the flea market. So that's what I did to increase my money. What my brother did was he bought art supplies and bought like a kid's trunk, and then he painted a painting on the trunk. So he took the money, bought the trunk and the art supplies, and it took him quite a while to do the painting, and then he sold the trunk. So he increased his money that way. It took me longer, of course, because I had smaller stuff. I mean, he only did that once. So he bought one trunk, did one painting, and sold it. And he didn't put the money back in. He just turned the money when in the fall had the thing. Anyway, I won. that was bad, right? Anyway, I won. At least I remember it as I won. I haven't asked him lately. When I told him that story lately, he didn't remember it. So I guess it left a bigger impression on me than it did on him. But that's what I was doing, is buying stuff and selling stuff. So some of the jobs I did after that, I worked in a furniture store doing paperwork and bookkeeping, learning how to do that. That was my co-op job from high school. I also rode my bike down to the dairy bar and made sundaes and stuff. I did that. But the buying and selling thing was I liked that better because you could do more, you could earn more than just what you could get hourly. So like at the furniture store, I had no choice but to just earn the $3 and whatever it was an hour. There was no way to get more money. Now, I did ask them at the furniture store if I could sell, because there's grown men selling there actually, and it was all men. That should have told me something. And the guy, my boss there, Henry, he'd say, no, you stay here. This is what, this is kind of what girls do. You do the office thing and you leave the selling. And once in a while, he'd let his mother sell, but it was mostly him and his dad, Cuppy and Henry, that sold. So I wanted to sell. I thought I could sell. It's just that I didn't really have an opportunity other than doing the flea market. And I like to sell at the flea market because I like to interact with the people. That was always fun too. So anyway, when I got married I dropped out of high school, got married, and moved to Guam because evidently I'm an idiot. Don't judge. Right away, I wanted my own money. Hi, Crystal. I wanted my own money because I'd always had my own money. From early on, I worked. Matter of fact, before any of that, I worked. We took the tobacco bus in the summer and worked down at the tobacco fields in Massachusetts. Now, I don't even know, I was 12 when we were doing that all summer. So I wanted my own money. There was no way around that. So when I first got to Guam, I was looking around to see what kind of jobs there were, and I did work cashier, and I worked waitressing. I did cocktail waitress. Believe it or not, I did a lot of stuff like that. Um, because I was so young, I didn't have experience in an office or anything, except for the furniture company, and what I did see a lot of the wives doing was direct sales. I saw people selling Princess House and having parties, and they were doing it like the wives club in the Navy, that the company I was in. Um, they were doing it to be social. They weren't necessarily doing it to make money, but the lady running the party was doing it to make money. So I thought, well, what do I see them all doing? And then what do I see no one doing that I know? And that happened to be Avon. So I thought, well, because I remember the Avon lady coming selling stuff to my mother. Plus, there was someone in my high school, Lorene. She might be listening to this. You never know. Lorene Ballou. She used to sell Avon in high school. She was one of us, and she had an account she sold to us. So I thought, I don't see anybody around here doing that. Maybe I'll write to the company and ask them. So I wrote to Avon. It took weeks to do this, by the way, from Guam. I wrote to the company, and they wrote me back and said, send us $30. I think it was 35. Send us $35 and we'll send you a starter kit. And I did that. I signed up to sell Avon when I was on Guam in 1981. And now we're going to have the dog market too. Not only do we not have a guest, but we have the dog as a guest. That's awesome. Chasing the cat, no less. So that actually worked out pretty good. I liked Avon from the beginning. I liked the story of Avon. They've been around since 1886. Although it was a man that started the company, which is awesome. What the deal was is he was selling books door to door. And on his stove at his house, he was making little vials of perfume as like a gift to get in the door to sell you a book. So it was like a gimmick. And the first Avon lady, who's actually from New Hampshire, Winchester, New Hampshire, Mrs. P.F.E. Albee, sales reps. They called them depot agents back then. And more people wanted the little perfume than they did the books when he was going around selling. So David McConnell, the guy that founded Avon, is a smart man. And he said, well, maybe we should just sell the perfume. And sure enough, that's what they ended up doing. And they didn't call the company Avon at the beginning. That didn't happen for years after that. They called it the California Perfume Company, because perfume is what they started with. It was a little dot perfume set. And Mrs. Albee helped him come up with the idea that they should get other women to sell to other women. So door-to-door women salespeople, the two of them came up with that together. And she went around and recruited people to sell too, door to door. So, I mean, I love the whole concept of that, the whole idea. And I was selling that was 81 when I was on Guam. And they had lots of cool stuff. I think they had jewelry already. No, I don't think they had jewelry yet, but they were getting onto that. They had the little pins with the perfume in it. They had Sweet Honesty. No, they must have had jewelry, because I had my first earrings were from Avon. So anyway, I liked it right away. I liked having to come up with ways to get people to know what I do. So this is early on, and I hated door knocking, never did do it. What I did was try to find ways to get people to know what I do. So right from the beginning, now don't forget, when I'm telling you these stories, think, how can I do this now? How can I do this to help my business now? So if you also don't like door knocking, or don't like just walking randomly up to people, think about these things. So I said to myself, well, maybe if I join the Wives Club, then they'll all get to know that I'm doing this. So I did that. Then in our company, our troop, or whatever they call them, I forgot anymore, they were looking for someone to be an ombudsman, which just means the person that's the go-between. Hi, Deanna. The go-between between the families and the people at the Navy. Okay, so I volunteered for that, and I was only 18 at the time? 18 at the time. So I didn't even know what I was volunteering for. But back then, so what I did was a newsletter. I did a newsletter for the whole company with all the families got it. And that was the first time I used the title in a newsletter, The Yankee Peddler, because I'm from New England and I sell Avon, and I use the Yankee Peddler as a thing. So I paid for that. I think they paid for the copy, and if I went in there, but I sponsored it with some money, so I was able to put my little ad in there. So that was Sharon says, fascinating story. I hope it'll give you some ideas because I started with nothing and I was 18. So some of this stuff is just how it organically happened. And I think it might help. Even if you're big into your business right now, I think it always helps to hear how somebody got started or the little things they did at the beginning. Because if you get stuck or you're struggling in any way, that's where you go. You go back and figure out if you can do any of that stuff still, if you could do it in a different way, if you could do it in a bigger way. So, love, love, love your creativity. Thank you. So anyway, that was the first time I used the Yankee Peddler name, and it was a newsletter for the Navy group that we were in. And by the way, my first husband built bombs. That's what he did. He was a mineman. He built bombs. But I sold quite a bit. And back then, this was in 81, I actually made President's Club, which in Avon back then, I think was about 8,000 in a year. And my number one selling thing was deodorant still back then. That's been my theme going along. Deodorant and skin softener. They had round jars of skin softener. And you know what? A lot of the Navy guys, oh, and nail polish. That was funny. One of the young Navy guys bought hundreds of nail polish from me, and I never asked him at the beginning. I what he was using it for, why he got so many, and then he finally told me. He used to bring it with him over to the Philippines and try to get girls that way. He'd hold up the nail polish and go, "Honey." And there was something special about the nail polish from the US that they all liked there. But anyway, I did sell quite a bit back then. I sold enough at President's Club that I think I earned a desk and something else. And I didn't get to have it because I lived on Guam and the shipping would have been more than the prize. But it was thrilling just to have gotten that. Now, back then, I had to have all my products shipped to me and I paid COD. So I didn't know that wasn't how everybody did it. It was COD, and what I would get in the mail is I would get the notice that said your order's up at the post office box. Bring your $520.18 up there, along with I think it was a COD fee, and you can have your order. So this is a big production every time it happened, which was every couple weeks. So I would go up there, get the order, pay my cash, get the order out of Hawk, right? And then I would get their big dolly, bring it back and stuff it all into my little AMC Hornet that we had and bring it back to the house and unload it and all that stuff. And that was always a big production. It was fun though, because it felt like Christmas every time the order came because there was new stuff and the new book was in there. But it was from the beginning, it was a constant process of trying to find ways to get people to know what I do without door knocking. So some of the other things were posters on bulletin boards. They had a poster up at the store on base. As a matter of fact, all the stores, they had little stores and big stores, and I went to all of them. I joined organizations. I asked people for referrals. But whatever I could do to get people to know what I did, I wore buttons that said Avon. A lot of that stuff was from the beginning that I did it. And that stuff still works today, by the way. I know a lot of you, I don't want to say you, but a lot of people think that they want to do the whole thing online and not wait on anybody in person. But I'm telling you, you're going to miss out on some awesome relationships and connections and referrals if you restrict yourself to strictly online. My best advice is take orders wherever you can get them. Serve people. Just have a service mentality, and don't think about how how it makes it the most easy for you. You want to think about your customers, making it the most easy for them. Oh, Karen said your tips helped me build New York business over 100,000 back in the 90s. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think in a lot of this stuff is regular stuff that I either saw somebody else doing or just thought, how can I get someone else to know what I'm doing? So every day I do that now. How can I get someone else to know what I'm doing today? And it's funny how you can see other people doing stuff and take it on board and do it when you're thinking, how can I get people to know what I'm doing? Because that's one of my rules, right? Is you can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do, right? And that's true for business, that's true for a fundraiser, that's true for a whole bunch of stuff, right? You can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. That can even be true for dating, right? Because you want to find the right guy for you, you're going to have a lot of guys to choose from, right? So that there was almost, I can't even think of a situation where that wouldn't be helpful to have a whole bunch of people know what you're doing. Hey, Lori. So, hey, Lori. Okay, so let's talk specifically about a couple things. Well, I want to get you from Guam to the U.S. when I switched. So there came a point, I was married, 2.5 years over there, I think I was on Guam, and decided to move back. Well, actually, don't forget, I dropped out of high school and got married because evidently I'm an idiot. And I mean that in the best, most loving way. And my Navy husband liked to dock his ship at more than one port, so I had to cut that anchor adrift. And I didn't want to go back home to my parents. Oh my God, I'd had to listen to, I told you you shouldn't have done that. So I wasn't doing that. So I just randomly picked Mississippi on the map, I swear to you, and just moved there, not realizing that, not having a job set up, not having a place to live set up, none of that stuff set up, how hard it would be. But that's okay because I was, 20 something? 20 or early 20? So that's when you're going to do stuff like that, you should do it when you're 20. So anyway, one of the first things I did go out and get a job. I did go get a place to live. One of the first things I needed was, of course, money coming in. And I didn't think of doing Avon full-time, but I did add it right away. So I actually, the thing that I did first to get some money coming right away, this sounds bad. I went down to the community college and signed up for classes because they would give you a stipend for housing. So then I had some money. Then I had classes to go to at night. And I could look for a job during the day. So I did finally get a secretary job, and I went to classes at night. Oh, hi, Nita. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Nita. So I went to worked as secretary during the day, went to class at night, and I started selling Avon again. I signed up almost right away when I got there. To me, I knew it was great extra money, but I hadn't met anyone doing direct sales full time. It wasn't years till I actually met people that did full time, and for some reason, it didn't dawn on me that I could do it full time. And looking back now, I'm thinking, why didn't I think of that? Because it's the same principle as when I bought and sold stuff at the flea market, right? You buy from the wholesaler, which is Avon, at the wholesale price. You mark it up, and then you sell to the customer at retail. That's the same thing as when I bought stuff at the yard sale on Saturday. cleaned it up, marked it up, and sold it on Sunday for more money. It's the same principle. And why I didn't think about that in direct sales, I don't know. I think they tend to present it as a part-time opportunity. And I hadn't met anyone that was doing it full time. So I guess it just didn't dawn on me, but it didn't. It didn't dawn on me for years after that, even. So anyway, I was in Mississippi. I stayed there for probably another 2.5 years. Then I moved to South Carolina for a year. South Carolina is where I had that lowest paying job ever. I did use the school trick again. I went to community college over there to get some stipend money. And then I worked third shift in a convenience store. That was the that was the low level of my life, I think, was the convenience store job. And that was probably only 8 or 9 months, but it had a lasting impression. But one of the weirdest things, you work 11 to 7, and I don't know, even when it's not a full moon, you're seeing it all. You're seeing the whole gamut of people from 11 to 7. Yeah. I had a guy come in one night naked, except for sneakers. He actually came in that store buck naked. Right. It's and you know what? He didn't know he was naked. You could tell on his face. It was like, no, he had no idea he was naked. I wasn't scared because of that. You could tell in his face he had no idea what he was doing. And you know what? He wanted cigarettes. He came up to the counter and wanted cigarettes. And I'm standing there and he's naked. And he wanted right. Lori says, wow. Right. And, looking back, he's a lucky man, because I actually had a pot of coffee within arm's reach of me. I could have made it so he never saw little Willie again. However, I didn't think of that at the time. So I like, what do you want? And he said cigarettes. And I said, here, pal, just take this pack of cigarettes and go, because I don't want to know where you got your money. Right. Just go. And that was a weird night. But all in all, that was a scary job, because you couldn't have anybody in there with you. You worked alone, and it was outside of the city of Charleston, South Carolina. So you saw all kind of wild people. People stole from me all the time. Not robbery, but they would take beer and run out the door with it. Funny thing about that, they would ask you, the management would ask you if anybody stole products on your watch. And if they did, they took it out of your pay. And I was young and stupid, and I would tell them, oh, yes, this guy took a 6-pack. And they go, okay, a 6-pack, that's coming right out of your money. So after a while, I started getting a little smarter, and I'm like, I wasn't going to lie, because I'm not a liar. But what I did was, when I saw one of these little kids going back there, I could tell what they were going to do after a while. They looked like they were shady. They go back there and open the beer thing, and I had a bat behind the desk. And I would just go over to the door, lock the door with the bat, and just tap the bat on the window. And they would open back the beer thing and put the beer back and come back out. So I never actually had to beat anybody with the bat. When I first started doing that, somebody ran out the door. I didn't lock the door. I didn't think of doing that. They ran out with the beer, and I went out after them with the bat, and I wasn't going to beat them. What I did was I took the bat and I cracked it against it was cinder block wall, and it sounded like a shot. And they dropped the beer, and I went and got the beer and put it back myself. So that was a interesting 9 months of my life. I didn't even end up working there a year, I think it was. And it's funny, because I worked there and then I got a better job as a secretary downtown in Charleston, and that cost me more money. I actually ended up making less money as a secretary and went back to the convenience store job. So, and it's because you had to pay for parking down in Charleston. So that whole learning experience. And then after that, I moved up to New Hampshire, where I live now. I lived Manchester for a while. So yay, good morning from Tennessee. Good morning. Now, all this time, I did sell Avon on the side, all of it. Uh, and I watched other direct sales companies. Matter of fact, in Charleston, I met one of my best friends who's still a great friend of mine now, Nancy Rickmeyer. And I dabbled a little bit in Princess House, which they sell like crystal stuff. Or they sell a lot more than that now, but they used to sell just crystal stuff. And from her, I learned about parties, and I used to go with her and watch her parties. And the thing that we did all the time was sit there in the morning after I got off my shift at Magic Market, and we used to make visual aids for her parties. So they'd have the incentives, and she's making her brag book. That's where I first heard about that. And it would be pictures from the trip she took with her company and pictures of the things that she got from her company free. And she called it a brag book, and she passed that around at the parties. I used that idea for years. Even when I was doing selling at the flea market, I had my brag book with me. When I did speaking, I had the brag book with me. So that's where I got that idea from, was Princess House. I still like to go to whenever she'll invite me. If you're listening, Nancy, I want to go to the Princess House rallies because it's different. It's different than the ones I go with for my own company. I like to sneak into other people's things. One of the first ones I went to with Nancy, I used at my own seminars for years after that. This person that was speaking taped a $1 bill under one of the chairs in the room. And then she said, "Everybody, there's a $1 bill taped under a chair. Get up and look for the dollar bill." And and everybody got up and got the dollar bill, and one lady was waving it. And she said, "This is the lesson I want you to get from this. You got to get up off your butt if you want to earn a buck." And I loved that. That was so perfect. And I used that in my seminars for years. And I heard that the first time at a Princess House rally when I went with Nancy Rickmeyer. So, I mean, there's things that you can go and do and experience in other companies that you can take over to your business and help benefit you in your business. So anyway, once I went from South Carolina, I moved up to New Hampshire. And by the way, all these moves had something to do with a man. Don't ask me and don't judge, okay? Right. Yeah, it was the man tour. Anyway, up here in New Hampshire, I decided this is kind of a weird thing. I just decided I was not going to do convenience store after that little experience with the convenience store. I said, you know what? No one up here knows me. I'm going to reinvent myself, and I'm not going to be a convenience store worker. That was just no, I'm just not going to do that. So I said, I'll go back. I can be secretary. I don't know all the skills. Back then, you needed to know shorthand, and I didn't. And you needed to type a certain speed. And I was fast, but not that fast. So I had a little bit hard time, but I went the first place that I applied. I went, and it was an executive's secretary. It was Dave Schroeder down at Contel Business Systems. Saw the ad in the paper. I went down there and, you know, just did the best interview I could think of. He called me on the phone after I got home from that, and he said, "We can't offer you a lot, but I did want to offer you 15." And I didn't know what that was. and all I knew is that it was more than I was getting. I would have got at the convenience store. So I took it and tried not to act too excited. And it was actually 15,000 a year, which at the convenience store I was making 6. So you can imagine how happy I was about this. 15,000 a year, and they had medical and dental and a 401k. I mean, it was a fabulous job. I thought I'd won the lottery. So, and I was selling Avon on the side too. It was one of those things. I always picked it back up. And by the way, I'm not plugging Avon on this. I'm saying direct sales. When I say Avon, I mean direct sales. Pick whatever's a good fit for you, because that's the only way this is going to work out, is if you have a good fit for you. And Avon just happens to be a real good fit for me. So anyway, I was doing Avon on the side. I had this awesome job. I worked with a group of, I think it was 5 men. We were in product development, and I was the secretary for the group, as well as that executive, Dave Schroeder. And it's funny, they had me do some uh, programming stuff, not programming itself, but talking with customers on the phone, because I was better at talking to the customers than the guys were. So I was doing some of that, but it was mostly secretarial stuff. And I again I was campaigning to get in their sales department, and they never would. It's funny looking back now, but and then what happened was 2.5 years into that, I was on to husband number 2, don't judge, and um, we got laid off. We got told the whole department's going, product development, the whole thing's going. So I'd never actually hadn't seen grown men cry before that. Those guys in the product development department were earning big bucks. I'm sure they were getting 6 figures back then. This was late 80s. They were getting 6 figures, and that executive, he was getting moved to another office, so he wasn't upset. But the other guys that I worked with, yeah, it wasn't good. And I was upset because husband number 2 is a great guy. He's a smart man, but he is not someone who wanted to have a lot of money. And I always have wanted a lot of money. Husband number 2 really wants to be Grizzly Adams. That's his thing. He wants to live off the grid and kill his own meat before he eats it, that kind of stuff. And that has never been my deal. I'm not sure why I agreed to marry him. So I think I didn't make that clear at the beginning is my problem. I take full responsibility for that. Anyway, I went home when we got notified we were going to lose the whole department. I was going to be out. And by then I was making 20 grand a year with benefits. And my check was the one paying the bills. Now, they weren't huge bills, but we lived in the trailer park. We lived in a single wide 12 by 70. So I had lot rent, electric, heating was a big one, of course, and those kind of things. But it was pretty much me doing the bills. And I thought, oh, this is a disaster. So, I mean, I was crying, and I don't mean a little bit crying. I was snot bubble crying. I was like hysterical crying. Uh, and I didn't want to be poor. That's that. I always didn't want to be in the trailer park. Now, nothing wrong with trailer parks, but I didn't grow up as a little girl going, oh, I hope I get to live in a trailer park. No, I wanted to ride in the front of the plane, the back of the car. That's what I wanted. I have some big dreams over here. So this was putting a monkey wrench in all that. I was pretty hysterical when I got home. Now, husband number 2, he really didn't care that much because money wasn't his thing anyway. But he says to me, why don't you do more with that Avon thing you've been playing with? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, let's do that. At the moment he said that, I actually thought, oh my God, that's what he's gonna say. And the more I thought about it, though, I thought, well, he knows me pretty well. If he thinks I can do that and make that kind of money, maybe I can, so I actually did Avon full time, or direct sales. I should start saying that so you don't think it's one company. Any of the direct sales this would work for, in my opinion. I actually did my direct sales company full time out of default because I went and looked for other jobs, and I think it was 86, 87. There weren't other jobs to be had right then. That happened to be another recession there. And I just couldn't get anything else. And unfortunately, I didn't type fast enough at that moment, didn't have shorthand. Remember, I said that. And when I went to a temp agency, which is the bottom of the barrel for secretaries, right? You do temp work, means you almost can't get a full-time positions while you're doing temp work. They wouldn't hire me at the temp agency because I didn't type fast enough. They tested me and it wasn't fast enough. So I'm in a pickle. So I'm thinking, well, at least I could do, I'll try the Avon thing, see if I can't make a go of that. So once I decided that was going to be a full-time thing, I spent all day, every day, trying to get more people to know what I do. And now let's talk about the things that I did to try to get more people to know what I do, because I think this will help you more than the story itself. But back then, I did ask the local employee how many Avon reps were in my town. And she said, there's 15. And at that moment, I didn't realize it made a difference how much the other people were selling. I just thought, oh, there's 15. Oh, that's a tragedy. That's not going to work. There's too many of us. But what I should have said was, how much are they selling? How much are them 15 selling? Because the fact of the matter was, there was only like 2 of them that were President's Club out of the 15, and those 2 were selling out of town at their other jobs. So the town actually was pretty much uncovered even. But see, that's as you get more into direct sales, you realize it doesn't matter how many people they are or other people they are selling whatever you're selling. It also doesn't matter how close they live to you. It all matters what you're doing with it. You can outsell anybody because especially now with the internet, because the whole world you can sell to practically. With our company, you only can sell in the US, but the US is huge. So I can sell and have team members anywhere in the United States. That's huge. Okay. So it doesn't even matter if there's 20 people on my street. It does not matter anymore. But even then, it didn't really matter. I just didn't know about to ask enough questions. So when I found out there were 15, I said to myself, well, my choices are go find some other brand to peddle, which didn't appeal to me because I really liked Avon already. It was a good fit for me. Second choice, convince everybody in town I was the only one. So that's the choice I went with. I just thought, you know what? I'll just start calling myself the Avon lady, like there's only one. I'll act like I'm it. I'll act like I'm the only one. And I'm going to find every way that I can to get people to know that's what I'm doing. Because I was looking around town and I didn't see anybody else doing anything. I didn't know they were all out there. So I thought this can't be that hard. So some of the things that I did, the thing I'm known for is the car. I'll show you that. And I still do that. Most of this stuff you'll see me do, I did from the beginning. This is the Yugo. This is the infamous Yugo. And in the background, this right here is the trailer. That's the single wide. And that's my Yugo this is probably 87. There's no date on the picture, but it's like 87. And I just bought vinyl letters and put them on the car. Now, before this, I even put, I had a piece of paper, just a regular old piece of paper, and I took a magic marker, a black marker, and I wrote to buy or sell Avon and my phone number and taped it in the windows. So if you don't have a lot of money and you need to do that, okay? Because you're not going to have money to do the other stuff until you do some stuff. So don't wait till you have the money or wait till you have a better car or wait till whatever. Just do the stuff now, however you can. So back then I started with the paper in the window. Now the paper in the window is awesome, but it fades in the sun. So you have to keep replacing it. So then I went to the vinyl letters, right? And I did, after this, I did do the magnetic signs for a while, but on a Yugo, they don't stick good. I think a Yugo's right there with tin can, I kept losing those. So that was too expensive. So then I went to these stickers. Now you'll notice I did that myself. That's why it's all uneven. And look at the poor little pitiful lipstick mark because I did that myself. But I did to buy or sell Avon and my phone number. And then this on the roof here. I know you know where I got that idea from. It's a pizza sign, right, or taxi. Now, they don't have pizza delivery or taxi out where I live, even now. So this worked out so good and still does. I've still got one. And what I did was I saw a pizza guy in the town next to me in Goffstown. He was driving in a pickup truck with that particular sign on the roof. Now, you can see back then they had straps. they strapped it right to your car. Now it's magnets and it's awesome. You don't have those big straps that show anymore. But back then, that's what it was. And I saw the guy pulling the straps off his truck and putting that in the back of the bed of the truck. And I said, "Where did you get that? I want to buy one for my business." And he said, "You can buy this one from me." He said, "This makes so much noise going down the road because the wind makes it go up and down. It just had little bumpers underneath it." And he only charged me $75 for it. I loved that. And he said, "It makes so much noise in the truck that I don't want it anymore." And I said, "Oh, this will be perfect. I'm driving a Yugo. I won't hear it. That's awesome." So I bought it. And once I touched, I actually thought it was painted on there. Once I touched it, I realized it was stickers. So I peeled his pizza stickers off and I put the word, see, it says my Avon and it says my phone number. And then one of these little things came out, a cord from underneath it and ran through the window and put in the cigarette lighter. Back then we had those cigarette lighter in the Yugo and lit up at night. So that's where I got that idea from. So when you're thinking now today, when you see a company do something that you can do for your business, that's what you should be doing, is finding a way to make it work for you. Because I don't remember any of the direct sellers doing this back then. And actually, you barely see anybody doing it other than me now. So some of these things, and what a small investment. By the way, you can buy these brand new now, and they're like 100 something maybe. Carsigns.com. K-A-R, what am I saying? C-A-R-S-I-G-N-S, carsigns.com. And they sell pizza delivery signs, but you can tell them you want a blank one, or you could tell them what you want on it, and they'll put whatever you want on it. They'll even do designs for a little bit more money and do it. But you want it clear as it can be read. I usually don't have any design on it. I just have the company name and my phone number or my URL. Okay. Because it's got to be read quickly when you're passing somebody. Okay. So that's one of the first things that I did. Now I went from this to my next vehicle was have I got a picture of it? Yes. This little van. Okay. This little van I got. This is my Uncle Buck van. I call it the Uncle Buck van. Because from the minute we got it, it backfired. But I only paid $750 for it. And you'll notice I got the sign on the roof. I got the lettering. It was white. We bought it on the side of the road and it was white. It's awesome. But anyway, matter of fact, husband number 2 was a good negotiator, and it was hilarious to watch him do this. This was like, I don't know, $1,200, I think, on the sign, and he didn't say anything, and we ended up paying $750 for it. All he did was walk around it and keep looking at it and not saying anything. That's all he did, and the seller kept coming down on the price. Yeah, I learned a lot from watching that. That he didn't say anything. He didn't argue with the man. He didn't attempt to offer him less money. He didn't any of those things. Didn't downplay the van itself or talk about how bad it was. He did nothing except keep walking around looking at it and saying nothing. And the guy just kept coming down. When he got to $750, he took it. He says, "I'll take it." But anyway, so it was $750. I had this van probably a couple years. Oh, let me read a comment here. "We have 2 large magnets on our card made by Vistaprint." Awesome. Vistaprint does good ones and love them. "People see our ads when we're stopped at lights and are finding us. We take them off at night and, of course, car washes." Yeah, when you do the magnetic signs, you definitely need to take them off, and you need to keep your car really clean, or that makes them come off too when you're driving. This happens to be vinyl letters again, and it doesn't come off. This is a permanent thing. I do. Well, I'll talk about that when I get farther into that. Okay. I only got 9 minutes left. I hope you're getting some ideas for your business here. Anyway, the Uncle Buck van, the reason I called it that is because it backfired. If you've seen the movie Uncle Buck, oh, good Lord. So I would pull into my flea market spot. I bought this after the Yugo to do the flea markets with. I would pull into my flea market spot, turn off the engine, and hold my breath because I knew what was coming. And you turn it off and go, oh, and I kept thinking this will be the time it doesn't do it. It would do it every time. So I'm sitting there and it would go bam. Oh, and everybody around me would hit the deck because they would think it was shooting or something. It was so embarrassing to ride in that. And going anywhere at night. Oh, the whole thing was just embarrassing to have this, but it worked for the purpose I used it for. Yeah, Crystal says I have Vistaprint signs too. Vistaprint's a great place to go get a lot of marketing stuff, including yard signs, business cards, uh, magnetic signs for your vehicle. They do flags. They do all kind of stuff. That's great. So that's vistaprint.com. So anyway, after this one, I got a little car. And let me see if I've got a picture of the other car. No, I don't. I don't happen to have a picture of the other car, but I had a nice little car, and it was a Hyundai. And I don't happen to have the picture here. The Hyundai was the first car that I bought brand new. No, I'm sorry. The Yugo was brand new, but that was $39.99, $3,999. I don't count that as a new car, but that was new. This Hyundai was the first car that I had. It was $59.99, $6,000. That was the first new car that I had, and it was also the last car that they made my husband sign for it. After that, I wouldn't allow that. I wouldn't shop someplace that did that to me. But when I bought that Hyundai, even though I was the only one earning money and had the 1099, he was earning money, but he was just doing firewood and stuff. So he didn't have like a 1099 from some company to show like I did. They still made him sign for my car. And that irritated the crap out of me, to tell you the truth. So that was the last time I allowed that to happen, was that Hyundai. But I used that Hyundai I drove that for years and years. Had the vinyl letters on it, had the light up sign on the roof. The next one after that was the PT Cruiser. Now, the PT Cruiser is when I started doing the car wraps. And this is what it looked like. I don't have a smaller picture. This is it from the front of the magazine, the PT Cruiser. Now, where I got the idea for the wrap is I was on an Avon trip and I saw a PT Cruiser out the window of the tour bus with a Coca-Cola wrap on it. And I right away, because it was a PT Cruiser, probably, I guess, but right away I'm like, oh, I am doing that. I am doing that. All the way home, I was talking about it and I was making drawings of what I was going to do. And this is what I ended up doing. And once you do something like this, you don't go back. I still got one on the one I've got now, and I love it. By the way, there's lots of benefits to having the car wrap. It has cut my percentage odds of getting carjacked to zero. No one's carjacking me. And I use it for all kind of things, including getting on the front of a magazine. So this is an awesome way to do. But, start with the paper in the window. Start with whatever you can do, whatever you can afford and that you can do. And here's what I drive right now. Of course, all I've got's a back picture of it, right? No, here's the front. Here's the side. Here's what I'm driving right now. And this is my mother's old van. This is actually a 12-year-old van, but it's awesome. It's big. And this is the back window. When I had this one done, which was a while back now, when she stopped driving it, I had it wrapped for me. And now I know when I go down and it's fastsigns.com is who did it for me. Fast Signs, and they're everywhere across the country. So if you want one, you can get a partial wrap, or if this is a partial wrap, believe it or not, the top of it's not done. because you pay per square foot. The top of the van, I don't live in a city where they're going to see the top of the van, so I didn't bother to have that done. But this is all the way around the sides. This cost me upwards of 2,000 something, so it was 2,000 plus. But they last 4, 5, 6 years if you take care of them. They last a long time, and you can tax deduct that as an advertising expense, of course. Okay. Now, I told the guy at Fast Signs doing this for me, I said, we need to come up with something kitschy because chances are people are going to see my van more on social media than they're going to see it in person live because we live out in New Hampshire, in rural New Hampshire. So more people are going to see it on social media. So what I gave him for an idea, I said, you know what? I saw this video of them selling a sticker for the back window, and it was a cat sticker. And what they did was they made this like 3D thing for the wiper. That's a cat's tail. So when the cat looked, when you're doing the wiper, it looked like the cat wagging its tail. And I said, can we do something like that on the back of mine, except make it a big giant pair of lips and have lipstick on the wiper? And this is what he came up with. And it's awesome. So every time I do the wiper, it goes, oh, or goes like that and puts the lipstick on the lips. So that is awesome. And by the way, I just got this piece replaced because that piece started going bad. Sometimes you can just get pieces on the wrap fixed and not have to replace the whole thing. So I got just this back window piece replaced. I think it was $300, which is a great, it's been on there probably 4 or 5 years already. But that started to crack and yellow, and we can't have that because it's teeth. Cracking and yellow on teeth is wrong. So I had just that piece replaced for $300, and now the van looks new again. So they save your design when you have it done at a place like Fast Signs. The only other thing I wanted to share, I'll talk more marketing if I can't find an idea, a guest again. I hope you had some fun today. But the other thing I wanted to tell you, if you're going to do your van or vehicle with any kind of vinyl or sign, Fast Signs is an awesome place to go. It's fastsigns.com. They have franchises all across the U.S. My suggestion to you, though, and it took me a while to learn this one, I used to go in with a very specific design and thinking that I knew what I was doing. I don't do that anymore because you pay for that design work whether or not you use theirs. So you're paying for that as part of the price to get the wrap. You're not just paying for the vinyl, and they don't separate that out. So if you come in and you're real picky, you're still going to pay for their design. You might as well let them do their job because I'm not a professional designer, and there's some good odds you're not either. So now what I do is I do know marketing. Okay. So what I did to say to him is I said, the guy, Fast Signs guy, I need the company name as big as you can make it. Cause I know that's what's going to, excuse me. Now I got the hiccups. I know that's what's going to be what they see when they go buy me. And they got to be able to tell immediately what I'm doing. That's got to be big. And my URL is right here. That's got to be big and able to be seen quickly. And it's big on the front too. And the design guys, I don't know if it's true everywhere, but everyone I've worked with, they always want to get a little bit fancy. And I drive them crazy because I'm like, no, the simplest font. It's got to be readable and big. It's got to just be readable. So he had some fancy font here, and I had him change it to the simplest readable font. So that's my suggestion, is have them do it. All I told him was the Fast Signs guy for this particular one. I said, I want Shameless Hussy Red. And I said, I want lipstick theme because my URL is NH Lipstick Lady. So that's all I told him, and this is what he came up with. So that's my suggestion, is when you go down to get an estimate, don't try to micromanage their job. Let them do their job. And you just come up with like maybe a color scheme or a product theme for your thing and let them do their job. Chances are you're going to love it because that's what they do for a living. So the only thing you want to be picky about is readability. Make sure the font's readable and the company name and your URL is big. Okay. Well, we'll talk more about other marketing stuff as the weeks go on. I'm sure I'm going to get stuck again with either a guest that can't be on, or I don't have a booking that week, so I'll fill in with this kind of thing if it's all right with you. And yay, thank you for coming and spending the hour with me. This has been Lisa Wilber in New Hampshire. And I thank you very much. This is going up on the YouTube channel where you can find all my past shows. And it's Monday Morning Madness. And I will see you next week. We have a special guest, which is, let me see here. Our special guest next week is, Phaeton Mitchell, who is one of the go-givers in the Go-Giver Success Alliance. She's awesome. And she is a data gal. She makes all her decisions based on data, and it's fascinating stuff. And I think it's stuff we'd find valuable for our business. So Phaeton Mitchell's going to be on next week. I hope you'll join me then. And thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.